When it comes to databases, if you are an application developer, you might have heard about a phrase called as CRUD operations. Let's get an overview of CRUD operations so that we understand what it is all about from the perspective of the database. CRUD operations are nothing but DML and queries to read the data while performing database operation. So either it can be DML to insert new data into the table, or update the data in the table, or delete the data from the table, or queries to read the data while performing database operations. These are categorized as CRUD operations from the application development perspective. In this case, C stands for create. However, create doesn't mean that creating the tables. It is actually creating the data inside the tables. So from the database operations perspective, it is insert to satisfy the create in CRUD. R stands for read. Typically, we write queries to read the data. U stands for update. Typically, we use update statement to update the data. D stands for delete. Typically, we use delete statement to delete the data. However, when it comes to update and delete, it implicitly uses read because you are trying to update the existing data or delete the existing data from the underlying table. So that is all about CRUD when it comes to mapping it to database operations. C, which means create, is actually insert. Just keep that in mind. As part of the application development process, these days we perform CRUD operations using REST APIs. So there are counterparts as part of the REST APIs. We use something called as get to read, put or post to insert or update, either delete or even post to actually delete the data. So using REST APIs, we typically perform the CRUD operations. Unless and until you are aiming to be application development, you don't need to worry too much about developing REST APIs for your applications. For data engineers, CRUD operations is a phrase which is not very common. We typically perform database operations directly by connecting to the databases and by interacting with the databases in batch mode, and hence we don't use CRUD operations that often. For testers and for business analysts, CRUD operations is not that important, but if you are from application development background, if you are a web application developer or mobile application developer, then you need to understand the perspective of CRUD operations, and you should be able to take care of CRUD operations using REST APIs.